Okay, shifting gears here. So
election gets called and then I'm told that I'm going to be a part of a nomination. We didn't have a manager for the campaign. We were kind of just like running around trying to figure things out on the go. I didn't think I was capable of learning so much in such a short span of time.
You're gonna see it eventually in your life, but we have no idea.
Don't take this opportunity for granted.
Hello everyone and welcome back to part 2 of our episode with Geet Grewal Verma. If you watched part 1, we just want to say thank you very much. It is by far our biggest video that we've ever done. And we appreciate all the support that you showed, not only us, but Geet as well. Make sure you hit the subscribe button because we have some very exciting things coming to you very soon. We do see the comments. We know what you want to see next. And we're going to try to make that happen. And we always have to give a thanks to the Supplement House for powering this podcast. It would not be possible without their support. And so if you live in the local Lower Mainland area of British Columbia, check them out. The best teams, the best prices. It's hard to beat. Again, thank you very much for all the support and all the love that you've shown us and our guests. We want to keep doing this. And the best way that we can do that is through your guys' support. And again, thank you for tuning in. Enjoy this episode.
okay, shifting gears here. So after going to law school, coming back home, of course, having the plan to practice law, and then kind of going towards the political side, I guess you could say. How did that all kind of come about?
It wasn't something that I knew I would always do. I always knew I wanted to do something to help people. And there's so many different avenues of doing that. So politics really didn't come to my mind naturally. And because I was so shy, it just felt like that's just impossible. It felt like a joke. And then it got brought up a few times and I really didn't take it seriously. I was like, this is a joke. Like, who's gonna take me seriously? First of all, like, I'm like not as loud as other people. Like, in my family, other than my own household, like, I'm very shy. I don't really put my opinion out there as often. And I don't know, something just switched where I thought, like, kind of like what happened with law school. I just had like this thing where it was like a feeling of maybe I should just send in my application. What's the worst that will happen? They'll say no. And if they say yes, I'll have that choice and I'll make that decision when it's time to make that decision. And I got that call and I was told that I'm gonna have my interview, and I was super nervous and I thought there's no way, like, there's so many other smart people that want this as bad as I do, or maybe even more than I do. And the interview went well, and then we waited and waited, nothing came, and I thought, okay, like, this is not happening, it's okay, I'll try again next year. Because when I applied, I thought, okay, it's okay if I don't get it. We'll see what happens. It wasn't really like something that I thought I was dying if it didn't happen. And then when I did the interview and I started getting more involved and started doing more preparation for it, I got really excited. And then it felt like, okay, this is really exciting to me. I really want to do this. And so that was when I thought, if it doesn't happen this time, I know for a fact that I am going to do it again. I am going to apply again. And then the election gets called, and then election gets called, and then I'm told that I'm going to be a part of a nomination because there were other people who wanted the same seat as me. And that was a shock. And so it was a lot of last minute preparation. I think 5 days into the election or something like that, we fought the nomination, which was so much fun, so exhilarating, and we won.
We were at the pool party. All I remember is I get a call, and it was me, Jazz, Bermish just standing there, and all of a sudden me and Jazz go, "Sadi Baran Empia!" Just screaming. All the people around us are like, "What the fuck's wrong with these guys?"
But so, okay, honestly, I'm a little bit confused. So I just had this understanding, like, you want to run for politics, like. Actually, now that I think about it, I don't even know how that works. So, like, how does one decide to run, and, like, what's that entire process like?
You have to send in an application. Okay. It's like a really lengthy, like a lot of forms, really super lengthy, and then you just kind of wait. And then you get an interview. If you do well in your interview and there's other people who want the same seat as you, you have to fight a nomination. And after that, you become the candidate, and then you start preparing for the election. I didn't even have a manager. So we won the nomination. We didn't have a manager for the campaign. So we were kind of just like running around trying to figure things out on the go, and the election's like, what, 3 weeks away. It was crazy. And I learned, like, I didn't think I was capable of learning so much in such a short span of time. Like, it was like we hit the ground running. And there were like actually 2 days where we were just trying to play catch up and figure things out. But once we got into the groove of it, everything went so great. And it was probably one of the best experiences of my life so far. Yeah.
Even your campaign was, I think, top 10 in Canada in terms of door knocking and all that. So even the like, party itself was looking, and they're like, Canada, we put up without having a fighting chance as one of the top 10 campaigns in the entire country, and they're running a week behind everyone else.
Yeah, because the short was 3 weeks, right?
Yeah, it was 3 weeks, yeah.
Definitely making noise.
Yeah.
So I know you've been a shy person pretty much growing up. Was there ever a moment when you were running, like in public speaking or even your campaign, where you're like, you looked at yourself and like, I got this. This is me. I'm gonna kill it. I'm gonna show them who I am.
Yeah, so it took me a day or two to get the hang of it. The first time I spoke, it was in front of a large group of men, which was something that was super unusual to me because I've done public speaking before, but it's been in front of mixed crowds. So that took me a day or two to get used to, and it took people, there were like the people around me, the people who supported me, it was really unusual for them to have I was like 27 then, 28, 27 years old. So a 27-year-old woman doing things that they're used to having a lot of older men do. So it was really unusual for them to have me call the shots. So there were a lot of voices telling me what to do, say this, talk to this person. And so it took me a day or two to kind of cancel everything out, like cancel out the noise and kind of realize that I need to be deciding what I want to say, how I want to say it. And so it did take a day or two, but once I got into the groove of it, it felt super easy. It felt like I was meant to do this my whole life.
Just in terms of that, is there anything you want to say to the younger audience, to women in general, where you do see big crowds of men and it's a field dominated by a lot of men, especially in our communities where it's a lot of Indian men do get together, they try and sway the vote one way or the other. Is there anything you want to say to people that helps bring a change in terms of the demographic you have to deal with?
So when I sent in my application, and there was a little bit of noise in the community about that, and my dad got a call from someone, and they said, "Are you sure you want your daughter to do this?" And I don't know what my dad said. I'm sure it was something supportive. He was super excited, and my parents have never ever held me back from anything I've ever wanted to do. And then he said, "Do you know what they say about women in politics? Are you sure you want your daughter to be in a field where people are going to be saying such things about her?" So that was super upsetting, but also it really like pushed me to want it more, because I feel like these are the things that pull women, especially in our community, back. Especially with my age. I went to an event, I spoke, it was like probably 300 people, and there were probably like 2 women in there. Wow. It was all men. And then I got off the stage, and someone came up to me and he said, "You said this wrong, you shouldn't have said that, and just watch your mouth when you're talking." And I got really scared and really upset. And it was probably a week into the campaign. I came back and I went to my campaign manager and my Mamaji, Brinder Pulder. He's pretty involved in the political world, and I would consider him one of my mentors in my career in politics. And they said, "You didn't say anything wrong. Why are you letting these people get into your head?" So I was really lucky to have people who kind of just helped me drown the noise out and helped me to focus on what was important, and that was getting my message out there. When I was growing up, we were super involved in like door knocking, phone banking, but I never thought I could do it. I thought I had to be like at least like much older and not a woman. Like it was just like I can't do that. And so for me, it was really it is still really important to have that representation, because, and this was another thing, that our government makes laws that affect all of us equally. But if we don't have that representation out there, how are we going to make sure that those certain decisions that are being made are affecting us in the way that we want? What I need as an Indian young woman isn't the same thing that someone else would need, different age, different background, and all of that. So I feel really strongly about representation. And it still didn't sit well with a lot of people when I would talk about it. They just kind of brushed it off, especially the male men around me. When I would say it, they were like, just don't talk about it. Just don't talk about it. And I feel like I was really gaslit in those times where I was like, it's important to you, but don't talk about it. You're going to get in trouble. You're saying something wrong. I remember I was door knocking one day, and I knocked on this house. And a woman came down. She opened the door and she said, oh, we haven't decided who we're voting for. And we started talking, and she said, I do know one person who really wants to talk to you. And I think her daughter was probably about 11, 12 years old. She came down and she said, oh my God, I did a project on you. And that blew my mind. She said, oh, I love what you stand for. You're so cool. I want to be like you. And then her mom was like, you know, she did this, this, and this, so you need to do all of that to do this. And it just felt like, even if that's all that came from what this whole campaign, it felt like enough. Because growing up, I never had that, and I wish I did. Because I think I'm starting to dream bigger now, but if I had those certain figures to look up to, there was so much more, and I would be better equipped, I would say. Better equipped mentally to dream bigger and achieve more. It's not to say it's too late now, it's never too late, but now looking at my daughter, even, like, I want her to have like women she could look up to, and I want her to know she can do whatever she puts her mind to or whatever she wants to do. But sometimes words aren't enough. You need to see that as well. And so that was my whole thing. I just wanted young girls, young women to see, you can do it, you are enough. It doesn't matter how you look, it doesn't matter if you're small or big or whatever it is, you can do it.
Yeah, I think one thing with the politics that made me super proud of the way you ran was you stayed true to yourself, regardless of all the disturbing and disgusting opinions that people were putting out there. I think you showed young girls, doesn't matter what your skin color is, you showed young girls of all colors, you know what, we are enough, we can make it to the next step. Because I know during the entire process you had multiple voices in your head of saying, okay, don't share this about your personal life, don't share that about yourself, dress a certain way. But at the end of it, you stayed true to yourself because you weren't trying to be a career politician. You wanted to be yourself, and you wanted to bring a change for the greater good. And I think that's one of the biggest takeaways I took away from it, was you found who you truly were and you stuck with that, rather than following the opinions of someone who didn't know you whatsoever or knew you from a certain perspectives.
Arvind and I have had to deal with, like, and especially during the elections, was being judged on where we come from or the family we come from. I'm very proud of my parents, my mom and dad, for what they've achieved. They came from like next to nothing, and they've achieved so much. And people try to turn that into a negative. And there were certain people telling me to hide that part of my life, or like kind of just like shut it down. But I am so proud of my parents for working so hard. Like, I remember when we were younger, my dad used to do tiling in people's houses, and he would come home. He had an arthritis problem. He would be holding the, I don't know what it's called, but he would holding that thing where you put the grout down.
Yeah.
For like what, 10 hours a day, and he would come home and his hand would just be frozen like that. Like,
He has arthritis in his blood, so it's just any repetitive motion is just
yeah, so he was
painful.
like stuck like that, like squatted on the ground, like stuck like that for hours on end. So I am so proud of him for where he came from, and my mom for where they came from and what they've achieved. And we had to deal with the backlash of that, and it was just so bizarre to me because and people there were a lot of voices saying, oh, like, you're only getting this because of daddy's money or whatever else. And my parents laid the foundation so that we could have a better life, and now that we're having that, like, why I don't want to give that up. Why should I give that up?
Yeah, they don't find anything else to pick out, so they try and make you ashamed of your parents' success when it's like, dude, I could care less what you think of where I come from, what my parents have, what they don't have. They work their asses off.
100%.
We've all seen it. You've seen it with your guys' parents too. It's not easy. Okay, yeah, I could look at it, I should be ashamed that my parents built what they have, but no, I'm not. I'm gonna work my ass off to not only do what they did, but do it to an even bigger extent because they gave me a platform to do that, right? So that's all it is. You got to drown out the outside noise and be like, you know what, I could care less.
I think it's also important to be grateful for the fact that you get to start where other people's journeys kind of end. Like for my dad, there's so many more things. He's achieved a lot, but there's so much more he wishes he could do. But a lot of his life he was like learning and going, where it's like he always says, he's like, I wish I had that education that you got and all of that. And so I've learned that, yes, I've done certain things, but I'm also very grateful that I had the opportunity to do it because my parents did do so much hard work. And so that's what I would want to teach my daughter as well, that don't take it for granted. Be very grateful for everything all the struggles your parents have been through, but realize that you have things so good for you that you could take it to the next level. Like, don't take this opportunity for granted. And the whole point is to like be happy and be at peace. And so I think the goal in life is just to keep going and do what makes you happy. And it doesn't really matter if someone thinks you don't deserve it or you got this because of something else. As long as you're not hurting anyone, you're trying your best, you're being a good person, I think that's all that really matters. Be a good person. If you're at peace, you're happy doing what you're doing, keep going.
How have you handled putting your opinions and decisions for your life now with Sada in the picture? Do you still strive for the same goals, or have they changed a little bit?
I definitely strive for the same goals. The timelines have changed. I really enjoy being a mom. I really enjoy being Sada's mom. And it's not like I'm putting anything on hold. It's just I'm following what feels right in my heart and my gut, and that is to be a devoted mom. But for me, timelines changed in that I needed to be home with my daughter, take care of myself, my mental health, my physical health, be a mom. And now that things are getting a little bit easier, I am going to get back into work and start doing everything that I wanted to do and kind of push towards all the things that I'm hoping to do that I've had in my mind for a long time. It's just there was a pause, and it was a beautiful pause because I got to spend time with my daughter, got to spend time at home. And even during that time, I had my daughter in September, and I started studying for my bar in November and wrote the bar exams in April. So it wasn't like a complete break or a complete pause. So I am still going, trying to push towards achieving my goals that I have in my mind while also trying to be a mom. So it's not like anything's changed. There was a little pause, but not even. And yeah, I'm just getting back into it. I want to take things a little bit slower because it is really important for me to spend time with my daughter. That brings me so much joy. But yeah, that's not to say that I'm not going to do what I always wanted to do or anything like that. I think, yeah, women are capable of doing so much more than just being a mom or a wife. And I also have my mom there to kind of pull me out of the mom zone and say, hey, you're also an individual. You also have your own goals, so don't forget about those.
Slowing down time is the hardest thing to do the older you get, right? Like, we see it, we go to the shop or we're all together, and then The next thing you know, it's the week's done. You have a day where you're just relaxing and you're back at it the next day, right?
100%. You're in control. We say this all the time to each other. You're in control of everything, but time is one thing, unfortunately, you can't control, and no one's ever beat Father Time before.
No.
But even on the piece of people have kids, and they'll. Can I call it? Are they making an excuse? I don't know. I'm not a parent, so I can't really, you know what I mean, be too judgmental on that. But using the fact that they have kids, that's the reason why they can't do what they want to do. But then the same thing that you're talking about, Geet, was that Sada's gonna grow up one day and be like, wait, mom, you didn't achieve your dreams because I exist. You know what I mean? Like that. Like how I'm sure that we can all probably share a story about either of our parents where they didn't get to pursue a certain thing in school or a career because honestly they did have us, but times were a lot different back then.
Yeah, they were moving
Right?
across seas over here.
Exactly, they were just trying to survive. But the thing is, they took care of that. They took care of the survival thing, so we can go out here and do what we want to do. So that's a huge thing for everyone listening too, right? Like what is that attitude really going to get you, right? Like the attitude of, oh, it must be easy for you to say, you got this, you have that, or, oh, but I got kids, I got to get them ready, or whatever. But it's like, right? Like you got to take it and just be like, okay, I have this, but you can still do the things that you want to do. You just got to have a proper plan in place.
And you're having kids by your own choice, right? If it's something that will hinder your dreams, sometimes you have to accept that because it's a sacrifice you're making to make a family, grow, and
I feel like if that doesn't light a fire under your ass, what will?
Yeah.
Everyone's journey is different. So for some parents, they don't like. I'm very blessed. I have a lot of help from my parents and family members. Yeah. Yeah, he's great. He's a great mama.
Man, I'll say.
Yeah.
She loves him.
Yeah. So there's a lot of help around. I don't like to kind of throw my responsibilities onto other people. So there is a lot of sacrifice. You just kind of need to see what is worth sacrificing. Like when I was studying for my bar exams, I remember Sada wouldn't sleep unless I was holding her. And I had like a lot of guilt when I would ask for help. So the whole day I would do whatever was needed to take care of her. And even her naps, she would nap 3, sometimes 4 times a day. And I would have to hold her for like hours at a time. And when she was awake, I needed to be on mom duty. I didn't like asking for help. I think that's a huge problem I have. Really need to start doing that. But and then at nighttime she wouldn't sleep unless I was holding her. And she wouldn't sleep till 12. I don't know why. She did that for a long time up until like recently. And so I would put her to sleep, hold her in my arms, or like lay her in my lap, and then I would study from about 12 till 4 or 5 a.m. holding her. And then I would sleep 3 or 4 hours and do it all over again. And so there were a lot of sacrifices made, and I am kind of suffering for those now because I am like reached a point of exhaustion. But there's always a give and take of you want this, and do you want it bad enough to give up certain things, whether it's sleep or comfort or anything else for that matter. But that's not to say that I'm not super blessed with so much support from my family and friends.
You proved something to yourself too, right? Something that you thought was difficult and you didn't really think you could accomplish it, you ended up doing it. So you're setting an example for yourself, which is huge, especially when you did have self-confidence issues growing up and a low self-esteem. Like now you're finally turning into the person you actually want to be and showing it's just one step at a time, right? Every good thing you do for yourself, it's going to add more to your morale and boost your own self-confidence.
And I keep saying this, but in that moment I thought, so I had a lot of people telling me to get my exams done while I was pregnant because they said when the baby comes, it's going to be impossible. But while I was pregnant, I was super sick. I was always nauseous and exhausted. And I just could not get it done during that time frame. I had to defer the exam because I was just so exhausted and I couldn't eat anything. And then I got into my head again. I was like, I don't know if I can do this. And even while studying, I thought, like, I'm so exhausted. There's no way at all. But then I would look at her and I would think, well, she would be so proud of me if I did this. Like, just keep going. Let's just do this. And I still don't know how it happened, but I always feel like it's because of her. She really pushes me and makes me realize that I'm capable of so much more than I I believe. So it's been really eye-opening to like have Sada, and I've just started seeing myself differently, started seeing the world differently, and started handling certain situations and opportunities very differently.
She brought your inner child out too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
When I was younger, the confidence issues where I didn't look like the rest of the family, where like Arvin was a very like cute little kid.
Even with the Justin Bieber hair?
Yeah, even with the Justin Bieber hair. And
I'm gonna find that
I'm bringing it back. I'm bringing it back.
yeah. We were only a year apart, and I was like super clingy to my mom, was very
Stealing my
shy, and in our culture it's like darker skin tone is like not cute. I was darker than him. I was darker than all my other cousins. And so I would hear that a lot. And even with when I told you guys I used to do Bhangra lessons too, that got into my head so much. And I noticed it too, like the kids that like I thought in my head were pretty would always be put at the front. I would always be put at the back. Even now when people found out me and Parmish were getting married, there were a lot of comments, like hate comments on social media, not even from women, from men, saying, oh bro, you could do so much better, she's so dark, galo, this and that. Like it was really mean stuff, and that kind of like brought me back to my childhood. But obviously at this age we're a little bit more mature to kind of cancel it out. It didn't affect me as much, but there were still so many things that I felt really self-conscious about. And then when I had Sada, I looked at her and something just clicked where it was like, I do not ever want her to feel like what she looks like isn't enough, or there's something wrong with how she looks. And that's when I started to love myself, like as I am, what I look like. So it's been a journey, and I think, like we were saying, she really did bring out my inner child and help me heal in ways that she'll probably never even know. Like, it really just changed my life in every possible good way.
Was that hard at first? Because like I know when after giving birth, like I know it's a very, very tough transition from others, like getting their bodies back to normal, this and that. Things like postpartum depression, all those different type of things. Like, was that like a little bit of an uphill battle for you to have this perspective now, or what was that like?
It was really hard.
Okay.
It's not talked about enough, I think, in our culture especially, where when I had Sada, I think I was for 1 to 2, almost 2 months, I was crying at least like 3 or 4 times a day, at least. And it was scary. For 1 month, I probably slept like 2 hours a day. When she was sleeping, you know how they say like go sleep when the baby sleeps? I couldn't sleep. I was like so scared all the time. I didn't know what was happening, why I was feeling certain things. And no one really understood. Like my mom, my dad, everyone was super supportive and kind, but like there was other voices that just really didn't understand. And it was tough. And I didn't even know I was going to go through it. No one ever talked about it. No one brought it up. No one told me, oh, just be ready for this. Like, there's the baby blues. Might be postpartum depression. No one ever brought it up till it happened. And that too, it was the doctor that said, this is completely normal. It's fine. But yeah, it was extremely hard. Even now, I think dealing with that, I didn't know how to deal with it. It was just kind of like push through, you'll be fine. And everyone was doing their best to support me, but no one really knew what to do. And because I had so many other things that I wanted to do, and like my exams, and so the rest that I needed, I don't really think I allowed myself to have that, because I didn't really understand what was happening. I didn't have a clear mind. And so now reaching this point, I realize I think if I was more prepared for that and these things were talked about more, I could have taken better care of myself. Loved ones could have been better prepared to take care of me in ways that I couldn't take care of myself, and I would have been in a better position now, because I've been like like fight mode where it's like I need to do this, like I need to get everything done and I need to be a good mom. I can't ask for help. And now I'm just super exhausted. So I'm taking the time to kind of like be on maternity leave and just rest and be at peace and recover so that I can get back into work and be my best.
If you could give some advice to dudes, like in regards to postpartum, we really don't know too much about it.
I don't know what I was thinking right now.
Yeah.
Not to comment on anything that Parmesh did, but is there any advice that you'd give to somebody who's about to have their first kid, how they can make their other partner's life easier, if there's something they should be aware of, if there's resources they can pull from to be more informed?
Even dealing with it from the outside, you get scared. I was like, she just sitting there crying one day, and I'm like,
What the fuck do I do?
you want me to hold the baby? Like, I don't know what. I always come to you for advice, right? Like, I'm usually the one crying, asking you for help. What's going on?
Yeah.
So it's confusing for men because we literally don't know what to do. Like, whether that's your wife, your sister, or a cousin going through that, you're gonna see it eventually in your life, but we have no idea. Like, I still have no clue, and I was seeing her cry every day, and she'd just be sitting on her own and just out of nowhere start crying. So you're sitting there like, okay, what is this? Like, it's foreign to you, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, any tips from a mother for someone who isn't aware of that situation, like Connor said? Like, how should someone deal with those situations?
Everyone's different. I think everyone's needs are different. I don't, for me, and there's talking to other women, some moms had experiences where they didn't want to be around their baby. Some women had experiences where they didn't want to let their baby go. For me, it was I needed my baby with me at all times. And so everyone had their heart in the right place, everyone was trying to help, and they would say, oh, we'll hold the baby, you go rest. That used to like just trigger me, and I would internally like just die. I felt like I was dying inside. I couldn't breathe, just thinking about someone else holding her. And so just to really listen, and yeah, just to listen and ask, like, hey, what do you really need? And sometimes we don't know what we need, and it's just to be there and just to pick up the little things, like keep things clean. There's certain ways I think everyone likes things done, but we really don't have the energy to do that while we're like not getting enough sleep. We're trying to recover. So just to do those little things that your partner used to enjoy doing for themselves or needed done around them to like be happy, be at peace. So it's those little things really, because at the end of the day, like no one can make you feel any different. It's something you have to go through, but it's making the experience, everything else that can be controlled by other people, to make that more smooth.
Do you feel like that's not, of course, not only mental when you're going through those things, but even like the physical side, like taking care of your body, making sure you're eating the right things, supplementing the right things. Sorry, a little biased with the supplement house, but no, but honestly, because the reason why I'm asking this is because we do get a lot. I wouldn't say a lot, but we do get women that do come in.
Yeah.
That tend to have questions, hormonal questions, right? The things that they're going through. Now, I've kind of picked up. I'm able to pick up on it, what they're kind of asking without really asking it, right? Because they all kind of come off the same way, and they're not comfortable. They're not going to be comfortable talking to Jazz, Arvin, and I are about it because we're dudes. For the most part, I'd probably say like 9 times out of 10 they won't be. But I have seen cases where when they are doing all these correct things, when they're taking care of the physical side, like I'm saying, they are able to kind of get over that hump a lot quicker. Whereas sometimes we're just kind of taught to like, yeah, just think yourself out of it. But really, there are chemical reactions, and your hormones changing in your body. It's not that easy. Like there's things going on in your body, and you can't help the way that you're feeling, right? Like everyone think about the time you were hungry and you're pissed off. You were hangry. That's something very minuscule compared to postpartum depression, things like that. But just think of that. That's such a small thing.
Or Jazz.
Imagine what they're going through. Times 100.
Or Jazz having to wake up early in the morning.
Yeah, or Jazz having to wake up early in the morning, and then you ask him to do something. And then he'll yell at you. But taking a look at all those things, because like thinking yourself out of something, yeah, I get it. Think good thought, think positively. It'll help to a certain degree.
Yeah.
But there's certain things that you can't think yourself out of. You got to do everything. You got to do everything in respect to the other to kind of get yourself out of it. Right?
Yeah, definitely.
So, have you thought about the conversation that you're going to have with your daughter in the future? Just talking about Parmish and fame and people taking photos, stopping you on the street. Has that crossed your mind at all? Or have you thought about how you're going to approach that conversation?
Or has it happened yet?
Oh, it's happened a few times many times in India, a few times here when we went shopping. I always knew it would happen. It was scary. It is a little bit scary when you're holding your baby and no one means harm. Everyone gets excited. Everyone loves Ramesh so much, and it's his daughter, and so everyone gets excited, wants to say hi. So it's not something that the outside isn't something we can control. And I really don't want her, but I also don't want her to feel like the people and all of that coming up to her is who she is and it's because of something she's done. I want her to know it's because of all the hard work her dad's done in his life, and this is the love he gets for it. And I think it's a beautiful thing, and I think she could learn from that and maybe strive for something where people want to see her and get to know her because of certain things she's done or achieved. But having a conversation with her about it, I really haven't thought about it till now. But what I would want her to know, and what I would want her to know is that there's going to be a lot of opinions coming at you, and I realized that very soon after getting nominated for the elections, that people are not going to be nice. People have a lot of mean things to say. Not everyone's mean. There's some nice things there too, but a lot of the comments you get that you kind of keep in your mind are the mean ones. And so to not internalize those and kind of not waste your time even looking at them. The first few days where my Instagram blew up, I didn't expect that, first of all, to happen. And then when it did, the first few days, it was like, oh my gosh, people are mean. And I was just dwelling on it, and I thought, what am I doing? Like, this is not how I want to live my life. This is just not how I've been raised to like really care about what people think. And I have internalized these things before. I'm not going back there again. And so it would just be to let her know that people have opinions. They don't have to be your own, and to just zone it out and do what makes you happy and live your life and let people say what they want. As long as you're at peace, it doesn't really matter what they're saying.
Those people don't really know you either.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And they're just putting their own insecurities out into the world by hating on other people or being mean or pointing out certain features of yours, whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
But 150,000 followers, that's...
We were looking at
Yeah.
I remember we came across it, I think, after we interviewed you, Art?
Yeah, it was like last week. Yeah, I went to her Instagram. I was like, oh, how many followers does she have? Probably a few thousand. And look at it, 149,000.
Like, fuck, we're losers.
Yeah. we thought we were cool. Ganita ended up being the cool one.
I finally hit 1,500 and boom.
Ganita's like that mom from Mean Girls now. I'm the cool mom.
So wrapping up this episode, final message to anybody listening.
Don't let anyone tell you who you are. Listen to your own instincts, your own gut feelings, and do what makes you happy, because life's too short and life changes so fast. So really just enjoy the present moment, because it'll be gone very fast and you'll wish you enjoyed it